everyone, it's Taylor here today, and I'd like to show you how I created these 3 unique cards using a few products from Tailored Expressions. So the main product I'll be using is the Flip the Lace stamp set with the coordinating edger die. So the stamp set includes that long floral lacy border. It's a beautiful intricate image, and you can use it with or without the die and set it up in several different ways. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways that I used it on 3 different cards in this video. And I also used several other Tailored Expressions products along the way. You will see me using the Little Bits Hearts along with the Lots of Love stencil on the Valentine card. And then I have one of my favorite layering sets. This is our Fresh Picked Florals clear set with the coordinating dies. And then I'll be cutting out one of my sentiments with the heart stacklets. I also wanted to show you how it looked with embossing powder. So I'll be using 3 different colors in this video with 3 different colors of cardstock. It really picks up nicely on the very detailed lace image, and I'm excited to show you how those turn out. We also need our powder tool and Versamark, along with my new favorite embellishment, drip drops, that I seem to use on every project. So let's get started with our stamping. We're going to be using that long floral lacy border and 3 different colors of cardstock with 3 different embossing powders. I'm excited to show you how each of these pops with the cardstock. First, I have gold with poblano pepper cardstock, white with cherry pop cardstock, and rose gold embossing powder with guava cardstock. I'm going to start with the poblano pepper cardstock and set that up horizontally in my MISTI. I'm going to lay the stamp so that the solid line border is overlapping the top of the cardstock, and place that down with a little bit of adhesive and my magnet just to hold it in place while I do my stamping. Now with these detailed images, it's especially important to use that powder tool to make sure that the embossing powder only sticks to the areas that you've stamped. Now I've stamped that with Versamark and rotated 180 degrees to stamp it again on the opposite side of my cardstock. Then I'm going to take that piece and pour the gold embossing powder over it, and I'm so excited for you to see just how beautifully this gold embossing powder pops over that poblano cardstock. You can see that beautiful intricate design just start to come out as the embossing powder is heated. Now in order to get rid of that powder residue from the powder tool, I'm just using a clean cloth and wiping over the cardstock to remove the residue. Next, let's use the cherry pop cardstock, and this time we're going to do a vertical orientation, setting that up with the solid line facing towards the center of the card and the top of that lacy board overlapping the top of the cardstock. When I rotate that and stamp it again, you'll see we're left with an opening in the center that will be perfect for our sentiment. I'm going to be using the white embossing powder with the red, and it just looks so stunning. I think white and red will be perfect for a Valentine's Day card. You can see that beautiful design once again just pop out as we heat that with the embossing gun. And again, finish with the clean cloth to wipe off that powder residue. Now last, I'm going to show you an angled setup for this stamp. I'm marking with a pencil in the bottom corner so that when I go to rotate 180 degrees, I will know exactly where to put that other corner. Again, conditioning with the powder tool, stamping with Versamark, and then rotating my cardstock, finding that pencil marking and lining up the corner, the opposite corner, and then stamping again. Now we're going to use rose gold embossing powder with the guava cardstock. The 2 pinky tones really work so well together, and I just love how they look on this piece. And again, with that cleaning cloth to get the powder residue off. So now you can see how those 3 panels turned out, and I'm super excited to turn them into cards. So let's get started with the red panel. I'm masking off the stamped areas with purple tape and using a blender brush with cherry pop ink to add a little bit of design to that center area that we created. Now I'm going to set up my sentiment in the MISTI, stamping it first with the red ink so that I can see where to line up my negative die cut piece. I've placed a piece of vellum inside, and I'm going to stamp that with Versamark and then emboss it with white embossing powder to match the white embossing powder that we used on the lace. The white sentiment is really going to pop off the red in the center of the card. I'm going to use Cool Tack clear foam squares to adhere the vellum to the card, trying to hide those foam squares behind the thicker letters in the happy, and then adhering it in the center of the project. And that panel is done, so now we can continue on with the poblano pepper panel. I'm going to be using the coordinating edger die with this one, simply cutting along the edge of that lacy border on both of those pieces, and then discarding that solid piece that's left over in the center. I'll be using those borders on a full card base and placing the sentiment in the center. I'll set that up in my MISTI, just loosely placing those borders along the top and the bottom so that I can easily see where I want my sentiment to go, and then moving them out of the way when it's time to stamp the sentiment. I'm stamping that in Oreo ink, and then before I finish the project, I often like to add a little bit of dimension with my blender brushes. So I have tone on tone toffee ink, and I'm just adding a little bit of that ink where the edge of the lace meets the card base. I'll be using my new favorite adhesive to adhere these to the card base. This is our foam strips, and they provide just the right amount of dimension, and they're really easy to cut into exactly the size that you want. So after adhering those borders to the top and the bottom of the project, I'm going to use our Little Bits hearts that I have pre-cut here, using them with my Embelly Jelly and liquid adhesive to add a little bit of color to the project. And now that one's finished, and we can start with the last panel. So I wanted to accentuate the angled portions of the card, so I decided to lay out a few stamped roses along the top and the bottom. After I have them right where I want them, I'm going to use a bit of press and seal to hold the florals in place so that I can add foam adhesive to the back. I can overlap the foam adhesive to hold all of those pieces together, and then they'll be right in the position I want them to be in when I'm ready to adhere them to my project. I'm going to loosely lay them over my project so that I can see exactly where I want my sentiment to be, and then I'll condition that cardstock with my powder tool, stamp the sentiment in Versamark, and emboss it with the white embossing powder. Once the embossing powder is heated, you can wait about 20 seconds and then clean off that excess powder residue with a clean cloth. Now it's time to adhere our press and seal arrangements. I've removed the backing paper from the adhesive, and I can place those right where I intended them to go, quickly and easily, just peeling back the press and seal and revealing the finished project. I'm going to add a little bit of guava ink in the corners in order to add some extra dimension to the project. And then I'll be adhering it to a sugar cube card base with my Scotch tape runner to finish it off. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're feeling inspired to try the Flip the Lace stamp set in your craft room. There are so many different ways I can see using this, and I can't wait to see what you do with it too. You can find all of these products at the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com.